What is a spiritual awakening, and how do you know if you're going through one? For some, it begins with heartbreak. For others, it begins with a sense that nothing in life makes sense anymore. If you ever felt like your old self is slipping away, or like you're waking up to a reality that you never saw before, you might be in the middle of a spiritual awakening, even if it feels like your whole life is falling apart. Hi, welcome to Willow Wisdom, where we talk about spirituality, metaphysics, tarot, and the integration of your soul. If you feel called to spirituality, or you're simply exploring a deeper meaning of your life, hit that subscribe button and let's walk this journey together. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps of what a spiritual awakening actually is, how it feels, the different stages you might experience, and why, despite all the pain, it might be one of the most powerful turning points of your life. So, let's start with the basics. What is a spiritual awakening? To me, a spiritual awakening is the process of becoming fully conscious to your own spirit or your soul. It's often triggered when your current belief system is no longer enough to carry you. Something inside you begins to shift and you start to question what you believe, what you've been taught, and what you've built your life upon. And very slowly, or sometimes very suddenly, you begin aligning your beliefs with a deeper meaning and purpose. This process can be incredibly confusing. It is not always graceful or peaceful. It may very well feel like your life is falling apart, but what is actually happening is your spirit is trying to come into focus. You are beginning to see the world differently. You are becoming aware of the fact that you're more than just a body and a mind. You are a soul, and that realization changes everything. My own spiritual awakening began in 2016 after my husband passed away. It was by far the most devastating moment of my life, and it completely unraveled everything that I thought I believed. I was raised with very strong Christian roots. I believed in heaven, in God, in prayer, but there was nothing that could prepare me for what I felt after he died. I didn't just grieve him, I felt him. I saw signs, I had dreams. I felt like something beyond this world was trying to reach me, and it simply didn't match the version of spirituality I had been taught. Out of desperation, I went to see a medium, which is something I never would have done before. And in that room, something broke open inside me. I knew he was there, and I knew I wasn't imagining it. That moment was the beginning of everything that changed for me. So I started meditating. I began to question everything that I had been taught about life and death and the nature of our soul. And the more I tuned in, the more I could feel my consciousness expanding. It was like waking up inside of my life for the very first time. For me, my spiritual awakening was caused by grief. Losing my husband was the moment that everything broke open, but that is just one doorway. Spiritual awakenings can be caused by many different life events, and not all of them are dramatic or tragic. Some people awaken through heartbreak, serious illness, or even burnout at work. Others might experience it after a big life change, like going through a divorce, starting a new job, or moving somewhere new. Sometimes it's not even a single moment. It's a slow build, a quiet sense that something in your life just isn't right anymore. You start asking questions. You start searching. And then there are awakenings that are caused by joy. Falling in love, connecting with nature, or discovering a spiritual practice like meditation or energy healing. These instances can also open your eyes to the truth that was always there, just waiting for you to see it. Before I woke up, I would have told you that I was a spiritual Christian. I didn't see myself as religious exactly, but my spirituality still lived inside a very rigid framework. It meant praying, going to church, maybe taking some walks in nature. I believed in God very deeply, but I also believed that there was only one path to him, and that he was in fact just a he. Christianity taught me that there was only one path, there was only one truth, and there was only one chance to get it right. And if you didn't do that, the consequences were eternal. I believed that only Christians could understand real spirituality, and I'll be honest, that kind of belief system did feel comforting until it didn't. When I first began to awaken, I did not want to let go of Jesus. I didn't stop praying. I was very scared. For a long time, I wouldn't even call myself a witch. But I still clung to Jesus because I felt him. Not the Jesus that we know from religious dogma, but the Jesus of love and healing. The Christ consciousness that lives in all of us. But at the same time, I was meditating and I was having visions. My chakras were bursting open. I was feeling oneness in my body. I was speaking to my guide. I was astral projecting and I was manifesting things that I had never even thought were possible. It wasn't that I chose to walk away from my beliefs. I just couldn't unsee what was being revealed to me. The old rules no longer made sense. And that's the thing. Awakening isn't necessarily about switching your belief systems. It's not about deciding that you no longer believe in something. It's about becoming something. I stopped thinking about my spirit as something that I just had and started living as the soul that I truly am. Now I feel whole. I feel like I've touched the core of who I truly am. I don't even know how I lived before I could speak to my soul in the language of love. Before I could go into meditation and get answers about my pain and my purpose and my path. It feels like I was asleep for 30 years, and then I finally woke up, and what I found was me. When it all first started happening, I was in awe. I was having visions. I was touching the deepest aspects of myself in meditation. I was manifesting things instantly. I was hearing words in my head before people said them out loud. I felt like I had completely cracked reality open, and for a moment, I felt completely untouchable. I felt so much love and beauty. I could feel the essence of plants and trees and butterflies and even the wind. I saw the whole world as alive and connected and truly spiritual. I was completely overwhelmed by how much beauty I had never been able to see before. But then things got dark. I started to unravel emotionally. I had anxiety all the time. I was starting to feel very angry and confused. Things that had never bothered me in the past started to become unbearable. I began to see the pain in the world and also the pain in myself, and it really hurt. I had thoughts like, what are we capable of as humans? Why is there so much pain in the world when we could be living in peace and healing? When we could be living in joy? My heart was breaking. My body reacted intensely. Headaches, nausea, pressure in my head, dizziness. Some days I would feel so tired that I couldn't even function. Other days I would have these bursts of manic energy where I couldn't even sleep. I was on a complete physical and emotional roller coaster. For me, the third eye chakra was wide open. It was the only thing I knew how to work with at that time. And now I see I was relying too much on it, trying to do all of my healing, all of my manifestation work, all of my energy work through that one energy point on my body. Without grounding, it sent me into a spiritual psychosis. I was seeing gods, goddesses, deities, spirits, ancestors. I did not know how to close the door. And I wish I had known back then that I had the right to say, no, I'm not ready for this. I need to go slower. But now I know better. I know that all of your chakras need to work together. Your third eye isn't meant to carry the entire weight of your awakening. And your body needs grounding. Your soul came here to live in this world, not to escape it. My awakening began in December of 2016. Within 6 weeks, I realized that I was not the same person anymore. I started meditating daily, sometimes for an hour at a time, and I could go so deep, so fast, it just felt like I left the whole world behind me. The deeper I went into myself, the clearer it all became. I was not just changing my beliefs, I was becoming somebody brand new. There was no going back. I also went through a major identity crisis. Spirituality had always been the center of my life, even when I was practicing Christianity outwardly. I had always felt psychically sensitive and spiritually connected, but I tied all of that to a Christian God. That was my reality, my framework. That was my identity. So even though I was in complete awe of what I was experiencing and how beautiful and real it all was, I was suffering because I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to move forward. And a part of me was absolutely terrified of what I was leaving behind. I lost friendships. I lost hobbies. I lost habits. And I lost beliefs that I had built my entire life on. It was like I had to say goodbye to an entire version of myself while still trying to meet the person that I was becoming. Spiritual awakenings don't follow a straight line. There's no checklist and there's no timeline. Everyone's path is different. However, over the past 10 years of walking this path, I've noticed some common stages that most of us seem to move through, albeit in different ways at different speeds. And I want to walk you through some of those now alongside moments in my own life that defined each one. Stage 1, a triggering event. This is the part where a sudden or subtle shift shakes your world. This could be a loss, illness, betrayal, trauma, even a joyful epiphany. Whatever it is, it causes your old life to break open and your soul begins to stir. For me, as I said before, it began with loss. I didn't know it then, but that loss broke my whole soul wide open. In the 2 months that followed, I began to lose my faith. I sank into numbness, confusion, and darkness. When I went to see that medium, she told me things about my life and my marriage that nobody could have possibly known. That moment didn't just shake me and scare me, it completely shifted me. I thought to myself, if she can do it, then so can I. Stage 2, the dark night of the soul. This is the part where everything starts to unravel. Your identity, your beliefs, and your sense of self. For me, it wasn't just pain, it was complete numbness. I couldn't feel anything. I could barely even remember my husband, who I had been with for 10 years. It was like a black hole swallowed every memory and every feeling. I lost my faith, I lost my ability to connect, and I just shut down. I was in complete shock, and I stayed there for a really long time. Stage 3, the search. This is the part where you start seeking answers. You dive into books, meditation, spiritual content, prayer, anything that helps you make sense of what you've been feeling. You become curious about energy and spirit and the universe. You want to know what's actually real. This is often an intense and incredible time of discovery. For me, the very first thing that I was drawn to was meditation. I wanted to learn how to quiet my mind. I wanted to know if psychic abilities were real, if it was actually possible to talk to the other side. The thoughts that I had of, if the medium could do it, why couldn't I? Led me down a rabbit hole of self-discovery. I asked questions constantly about spirits, about consciousness, about energy, and about truth. That's also when I found tarot. It was the beginning of everything. Stage 4, the awakening moment. This is when a moment of clarity breaks through. You feel connected to everything. You feel peace and love and understanding. You may have a vision, a dream, or a meditation, something that shows you truth beyond what words can express. This is the soul remembering itself. There were 2 moments for me where everything just clicked. The first was during my second meditation ever. I slipped into a deep alpha space, and suddenly I was transported to a white liminal space that encompassed everything. A blue figure danced before me, and her head was a giant eye, and I instantly knew her. I had never studied this, but I knew it and recognized it so deep that it was Kali. That moment showed me that the spirit world was real and that I could touch it. The second moment came a few weeks later when I was painting to cope with my grief. I looked at one of my pieces that I had been creating to process the pain I was going through, and I was filled with overwhelming love and unbearable grief at the same time. In that collision of emotion, my heart chakra burst open. It felt like an emotional and physical orgasm. I knew without a doubt what had happened. I remembered in that moment that I had chakras. My grief had cracked open my heart, and love just poured through it. Stage 5, the integration. This is where you begin to learn how to live from your soul instead of your wounds. You start practicing spiritual tools and grounding techniques. You start adapting to your new beliefs. You start healing, not just emotionally, but energetically. It's not always easy, but there is a sense of purpose that begins to return. In those first few months, I used tarot and meditation every single day. They became my spiritual anchors, and to be honest, they still are, almost a decade later. But integration, true healing, that took time. For the first 18 months, everything felt magical. I was exploring gods and goddesses and energy and spells. But eventually, life came back. I had to move. I lost jobs. Old trauma returned. I came down from the clouds pretty hard and fast. That's when the real healing started. Not just emotional healing, but energetic healing. That's when I began facing my past and my wounds and my relationships, and also my patterns. That's when I stopped escaping and started becoming more whole. Stage 6, alignment. Over time, your outer life begins to reflect your inner truth. Your relationships change and your values shift. You begin to walk your path. You feel more peaceful and more present and more like yourself than ever before. This is not the end. This is just the new beginning. I think I'm only starting to reach this stage now. The past 10 years have been filled with struggle. Mental health breakdowns, hospitalization, spiritual psychosis, job loss, poverty, single motherhood. I've had to survive all of this while trying to spiritually awaken. Those two paths don't always walk hand in hand. But something shifted this past year. I feel more grounded in my energy. I feel more stable in my practice. I don't chase visions anymore. I don't overreach into the unseen. I've returned to the peace that I first found in meditation and in tarot. And even though I still live in a very harsh three-dimensional world, I carry a quiet sweetness with me now, a soul awareness, a knowing that I'm so very honored to walk this path, even if it sometimes comes with grief, even if it's not rewarded by the world. This has freed me. A spiritual awakening isn't just a healing journey. It's a total reset. And sometimes that reset looks like destruction. Things fall away, people, beliefs, your entire identity, and that can really hurt. But here's what I've learned. It's not just pain for pain's sake. It's a shedding and a clearing and a soul purification. The person that I thought I was had to fall apart so that the person that I am could shine through. When I look back now, I can see that the grief and the loss and the breakdowns, they all created the person that I am today. It showed me where I had built my life around wounds. Awakening doesn't let you hide from that. It brings it all to the surface so that you can finally live truthfully from your soul instead of your survival mode. One of the greatest gifts my awakening gave me was the ability to hear my own intuition, not as a thought, but as a clear knowing. I stopped betraying myself and I started honoring my energy. I started choosing peace over performance and stillness over noise. Eventually, I learned how to live with myself, like really live with myself, even when life is hard, even when I'm still struggling, because now I know how to come home to myself, and that is a gift that no one can take away from me. So if you are in the middle of your own awakening, I just want you to know that you are not broken. You're becoming. You don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't have to feel good all the time. Sometimes awakening looks like crying in your car. Sometimes it looks like walking away from people you love. Sometimes it looks like nothing at all. Just silence and stillness and a deep knowing that something inside you is changing. But I promise you, it is worth it, because every step that you take toward your soul is a step toward freedom, toward total peace and truth. If this video spoke to you, I would love to hear your story in the comments. Subscribe to my channel if you want more of these conversations, and just know that you are truly not alone. This is a path that so many of us walk in silence, but you don't have to walk it quietly. You're waking up, and that is a sacred thing. Until we meet again, have a day filled with love and blessed be.